anytime you're having to solve a problem more than once, like it comes up again and you've seen the scenario again, maybe the situation's different, but it's the same beats, to it.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity to improve your operations, write it down.
Welcome to Full Cycle.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Full Cycle. I'm your host, Matt DeWolf, and today we're going to have a really fun conversation for you. We're going to talk a little bit about laundry valuation. We're going to talk about laundry growth. We're going to talk about what it means to buy a laundromat from your parents and what a pain or what a success that might be. And to do that, I'm not going to tell that story. We're going to bring on Brian Henderson and Ian Gollahon, co-owners of Liberty Laundry and founders of Wash Dry Fold POS. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that.
Well, yeah, I gotta know. I assume at this point the sale went through, the laundry's doing great, so successful purchase of laundry from parents. Yes, Brian?
Yeah. It in terms of the actual transfer of power, no, the transfer of ownership was about as smooth as you could hope for. Liberty Laundry, my family's stores. Dad built the first store back in 2005 in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, when he wanted to go into business for himself. And that's a whole story in of itself. We might get into that or not. And then built store number 2 in 2010 and store number 3 in 2014. And I came on board as operations manager in 2010 when the second store was built, and really helped develop a lot of the multi-store management systems that help those laundromats grow and succeed. So much so that by 2016, I started a spin-off, a side hustle called Wash Dry Fold POS that now we've sold over 1,200 systems to laundromats in all 50 states of point-of-sale systems for managing laundromats. And by 2018, I actually had to step away from the laundromats to focus on our startup that Ian came on board just a month or two after I started and helped us grow. And by the time that we then acquired the stores from my parents in 2023, when they were finally ready to sell and retire and all of that, it was this weird coming full circle of relearning some of the systems that I put in place years ago for helping the family business. And half the management team were people I had personally hired back in the day. And so as a new owner of buying 3 stores at one time, it was about as smooth as it could possibly be, but there were still a few bumps along the way in figuring it out.
Well, yeah, we'll dive into that a little bit. But I guess we should do the thing that we always have to do, which is let's start at the beginning, right? So let's figure out, Brian and Ian, how in the world did you end up in the laundry industry? What got you here? How did we get here?
I had no intention of going into laundromats. Back in the day, when Dad built his first store, I was off at college studying chemistry, and I did graduate in 2010 with a degree in chemistry. I'm glad I did, but I realized I was going to have a lot more schooling to pursue anything with that. I didn't really have a plan. So coming on board to the laundromats and getting involved with the management of the stores and developing systems for the operations, that's what I fell in love with. That constant problem solving. And John Henderson, my dad, and I kind of formed this book of the month club in terms of laundromat management and all that, looking at business management books, and then taking those lessons and putting them into place in the stores and finding success with that. And that's really when I fell in love with the laundromats, is about 2010, when I came on board full time. And I've been doing laundromat stuff ever since then, and I don't want to do anything else. So
can't get out of it now. You're in too deep, Brian. You're in too deep. Ian, how about you? What got you into this crazy space?
Hey, you're looking at him. Brian did. Yeah, I mean, I've been in sales since I was 14. I used to do door-to-door sales, newspaper subscriptions, and then TV subscriptions. Remember, like Dish Network and DirecTV?
Oh my gosh.
I'd go out in the boonies where they didn't have cable, and I'd go door to door and sell that. And I was successful at it, and I enjoyed it. And when I met Brian, I was doing B2B sales for Lamar. That's the billboard company, Lamar Outdoor Advertising. And I was just trying to sell some billboards.
It was this entrepreneurship meetup in Tulsa. And I was going because I was kind of looking for the next thing, trying to maybe figure out something of my own or I don't know what, just getting involved in the local entrepreneurship space in Tulsa area. And Ian was there prospecting, I guess.
That's right. Slacking off, really. I just didn't want to be at work.
But they had this town hall meeting one time. Ian was there and Ian was saying some interesting things. And we wound up talking after the meetup. And we went to lunch a few times, didn't we, Ian? And then shortly after that, started playing tennis too. Yeah.
Yeah, we just became fast friends. And, you meet people throughout your life. But when I met Brian, I just knew this was a person that I really liked and that seemed really honest and genuine and like a good person. And, he also just seemed like he was going to be successful, whatever he did. I wasn't into laundromats and didn't know much about laundromats, but Liberty Laundry, they do well around town. I mean, they're nice buildings, they're nice laundromats. And so I at least knew that much. And I knew his dad, had kind of built that chain of three and that he had helped. And so, yeah, when he was ready to start selling, I think when he approached me, he had essentially sold the first handful of systems, but he had this long list of laundromat owners that had reached out to him and said, hey, I heard you kind of cracked the code for point of sale, and this person's using it and they really like it, and this person recommended you. And so that was an ideal sales gig for someone to say, hey, I've got all these people that want to buy this product and it's a great product. Do you want to sell it? And so, but that was really fun. And it kind of started a whole journey of self-actualization for me, kind of going from just the, hey, you got to sell a few things to, actually doing all the marketing and all the sales and the sales funnel and the sales process. And
see, that was 2016. I knew I wanted to exhibit at the Clean Show in 2017 in Vegas. Right. And really, honestly, Ian, I just wanted somebody to help me with my booth at the Clean Show. And then here you are 10 years later, still with me. Man,
acting like just looking for booth help. Yeah.
Acting like you have equity in the company or something. So no, the truth is the speed at which Ian learned about the laundromat industry and was able to solve problems for laundromat owners with managing the stores. He adopted it so quickly. It was amazing. I couldn't afford him as a salesman. It's like, hey, you need to come on board with me and help me grow this. Yeah. And so it's been an honor, and it's been very exciting seeing how we've been able to play off of each other to grow that company faster. And then now that we have Liberty Laundry, seeing what we can do to grow that too, is taking 3 laundromats that are in their prime and then growing the revenue by another 25% in the 2.5, 3 years since we acquired them.
Yeah. So I think I want to jump into that, right? Because I think that for folks getting into this industry and for those who are in it, the question is always, how do I grow? How can I do more? How can I be better? And so you had a very successful operation already with your father. And then there's a little bit of pressure probably when you take it over, and then you're like, okay, I got to do something with this. I can't let it slip. So what was kind of the first thing that you did to be like, all right, I'm going to try something. I'm going to put my own stamp on this thing. Mm-hmm. What was kind of the first thing?
Well, yeah, there's, all right. So as the son of the former owner, I did have a wish list of things that if I ruled the world, what would I want to do differently with the laundromats? And it did become a bit of a point of contention around the time that I stepped away from the family business to go pursue my own thing. Not as like a negative conflict between myself and my dad. My parents have always been extremely supportive of anything done. It's part of why I'm the way I am, and that I love showing other people how to do things that I figured out here. Yeah. See this, I guarantee it's because of my supportive parents. It turns out when you build things and you show other people how to do what you figured out, that's a very profitable skill to have when you're an entrepreneur, right? So when we took on ownership, my plan was not to change anything in the laundromats for a year or so, just to get my feet underneath me. But after about 2 weeks of collecting coins and doing this round robin of every 2-3 days, collecting from each store and all of that, I was like, I'm going to rip out every single coin drop possible. So it wasn't until, I guess it was about a year, about April or so, that we added a card system to all 3 laundromats. So we're entirely card starting machines. You can still take cash at the kiosk, the laundry kiosk, but to actually start the machines, it's all card. And that was one of the best moves that we made, because now it's maybe once every 10 days that we actually need to manage collecting cash and get it to the bank. And it's just so simplified and so streamlined, and just the labor with that. I was spending maybe 20 plus hours a week on just cash handling alone for 3 stores before we switched to a card-based system. And now it's about 2 hours every 10 days. So about 6 hours a month that I'm handling cash. And that includes driving time between the stores. All 3 of our stores are within, 11 miles of each other. So
yeah, but that time is really important. And I think that's one of the traps for most entrepreneurs is, they don't own their time the way they should, right? It's like, okay, if I'm spending 20 hours a week and I'm just collecting cash, well, that means I'm not doing any of the things that I'm uniquely positioned to do. I can have people can pick up the cash for me. What am I doing that is going to help me grow my business and grow this thing the way I want to grow it? You got to be able to focus on that stuff. And, kudos to you for seeing it early and be like, okay, I'm not gonna do this. Ian, can you share maybe from a, not quite an outsider's perspective, but from looking in at this, right? Like you're not in the family.
Right.
You didn't have any of the kind of like close fear about what might need to change or what you might need to do that, maybe wouldn't sit so well with the previous owner. What was kind of the first thing that you saw that's like, man, this is going to be a game changer for us. We got to get this or this going so that we can grow this business.
Yeah, for me, we were getting rid of the coin systems, right, pretty early. And so the logo was a quarter for the laundromat. So that doesn't really work
well,
great
every
as a
quarter
logo.
says Liberty, so it made sense at the time, Liberty Laundry, right?
Supposedly it made sense. As an outsider, I'm not sure that it did, but either way, a quarter was the logo. And it turns out that who had ever done the signage before didn't have, a lifetime of experience in marketing. And so when I came, we were able to advertise comforters, that kind of be more clear that it's a full service laundromat about the wash, dry, fold and drop off your comforters and kind of have it clean and professional. Get rid of the quarter look, which kind of gives people that idea of like, oh, okay, I've been to a quarter laundromat before. I know what those look like. But it's like, no, you might have gone 40 years ago or 30 years ago. And that's not what Liberty Laundry looks like, right? It's a very nice, clean, well-maintained laundromat. And so I do think getting rid of the quarter kind of got rid of a little bit of that hesitation that somebody might have had if they were coming in to drop off their clothes. And then advertising comforters. I mean, a lot of people have washers and dryers, but they can't fit their king-size comforters into them. Yeah. And so when we did that and we made that change to all the signage, the outdoor signage is so key to a laundromat. So when we did all that, we did see revenue boost pretty immediately after that. Small changes make big differences. A lot of times when people buy a point of sale system from us, the Wash Dry Fold POS, they do ask me like, how do I increase my revenue at my stores? How do I get that wash, dry, fold up? And a lot of times just messaging is so key. Do you have signage inside your laundromat? Do you have signage outside your laundromat? Is it clear that you do comforters? Is it clear if somebody comes in, is somebody saying, hey, how can I help you? Because if they come in and they just see a bunch of washers and dryers, they might just, be like, never mind, I'm leaving, if nobody approaches them. And so In our stores, we immediately say, hey, welcome to Liberty Laundry. How can we help you? And if they just want to drop off the comforter, then you see the person is already talking to you. And we've got a lot of signage, clear signage indoors as well.
Yeah, and on the front windows of the building and all that too. So yeah, so major changes: the card system, our street signage, our window signage, some of our interior signage, repainted 2 of the stores already. Let's see, there's a lot of the equipment upgrades. So we've been gradually moving to all the touchscreen hard mount equipment that's available now. So we're all on brand on that, and just trying to get more modernized. We're about halfway through that process of replacing every single washer and dryer. And one of the best things we ever did was we had a team member named Trevor. Trevor, shout out to you if you're listening to this, man. But he was a laundry attendant who had worked for us for a time, and then he had gone away to work at an Amazon fulfillment center. And then he had expressed some interest in coming back, and the whole team was like, "Oh, Trevor's wanting to come back. Yeah, we like Trevor." And so I didn't know him at that time, but having just, acquired the store, was like, "Who's this Trevor guy? Let's bring him on." And so brought him back on, just laundry attendant, but just observed him and the way he kind of coached other team members how to use the point of sale system. And just, he seemed like a dependable, mechanically inclined kind of guy. And so I ran the idea past him about, would you be interested in maybe helping us with some of the equipment repairs and the facility upkeep? And he seemed interested in that. And so I personally know how to maintain the washers and dryers and take them apart. But so I trained Trevor on how to do these repairs and all that too, on keeping up the equipment, because that's something else that John had struggled with towards the tail end of his ownership, was just keeping up with just the fleet of equipment. So training up Trevor, he did such a excellent job, that we quickly promoted him to facilities manager, gave him a title and created that. And I laugh now thinking about, am I ever going to actually have enough work for him to make this a full-time job? And the truth is, in fact, now not only is he doing that full-time, and he's doing an excellent job, and he created a whole inventory system for all of our replacement and repair parts on hand, and keeping up with like a regular, he just this week, he's scheduling jet draining for our drain lines, sewer lines, and all that for our stores. He now also has an assistant, Julio, who's his full-time assistant facilities manager. And so he helps with that. And also he's our laundry delivery driver. So that's another thing that we added to the services, was pickup and delivery for Liberty Laundry. We had never really done that before. And so that's another area that we've added, in addition to focusing more on commercial accounts as well for our Wash Dry Fold service.
So I want to switch gears a little bit. I think that's all super interesting. I really like the concept of being very clear about your signage, like that piece. Now, the reality is like, people don't read signs very well in general, but guess what they aren't going to read? A sign with too much on it that is really confusing. So if you can be really clear with that message, that's a big deal. And I love the inclusion of comforters, because at the end of the day, right, you have to speak to the customer about the problem that you're solving for them. But I want to switch gears a little bit just to talk about once you got to kind of working through the deal of buying Liberty Laundry, like what that calculus looked like, and like how did you figure out what the right number was, and like how did you kind of like weigh in all of those things? And I know, Ian, you were kind enough to write a really in-depth series of articles for us in Full Cycle magazine about valuation, and I know there's some really great stuff in there, but I wonder if you guys could talk a little bit about just that process of doing the deal. How'd you get it done, and how'd you figure out what the thing was worth, given all the random variables that are involved?
Yeah. It's really a challenge, because obviously the owner always has in mind about what they think it is, right? What they think it's worth. And then for you to kind of figure out how much you think it's worth as a buyer, you've got to do some math as well, right? And, talking to the series of articles, people are like, well, what's the net revenue, right? And they might think the bottom line is the most important. But in reality, the bottom line is really something that you want to keep low, because that's what you pay taxes on, is your net revenue. And so if you have an LLC or an S Corp or even a C Corp, you might be doing other things like reinvesting in the business and something even as simple as servicing debt, that is something that maybe the new buyer will come in at a much lower rate, or maybe they'll come in at a much higher rate. And so you do have to really look at, the number that most brokers use is called SDE, which means seller discretionary earnings. And the reason that's a good number is because you can basically, if you can find that number, which is the real amount of money that it's up to you what you spend it on. Now, sure, maybe you have to spend some of it on interest, right? But it's at least it's a number that basically that the company generates that you can then delegate to all the expenses that you have, including paying yourself or including reinvesting in the business. Once you can find that number, then it's not real rocket science to figure out, okay, we just take a multiple of that number. Is it 3x? Is it 2.5? Is it 3.5 or whatever? But once you can find that seller discretionary earnings number, then you have a pretty good idea of what the business is worth. And then in the case of Liberty Laundry, he actually owned 2 of the real estate properties as well. And so those, you can just get those appraised and just pay, what the appraisal is worth. You know what I mean? So you just pay whatever the price they were appraised for. And then you just add that on to what you would call the enterprise value of the business, which would be typically a multiple of the SDE is what brokers and buyers and sellers tend to look at. And that is a little different from EBITDA. We won't go into all that today, but
well, it was interesting when we did explore the traditional financing process, going to banks and getting a large loan, or buying 3 stores kind of in their prime all at one time.
It was a lot of
big
money.
deal, a lot of money. And it was, how would you describe that journey, Ian, of trying to talk to different financing resources? And we talked to several different entities, and those both in the industry and out. Talked to Alliance Financing, we talked to Eastern Funding, we talked to several local banks, and
if you go local, then sometimes you can do some of the SBA loans. They have a specific SBA loan that works for real estate that's at a slightly lower interest rate than the SBA loan that you would buy for like equipment, right?
Talking about the 504 versus the 7A, I think it's called.
That's correct. Yep. And so we did kind of all that math, and you can try and save some money by going all SBA and kind of doing in our case, we would have done both the forms of the SBA loan, one for the real estate and one for the equipment and all the machinery. But as many laundromat owners probably already know, if you can get some kind of a seller financing thing, that a lot of times can be really preferable. And so, the math that I think we did was, it's going to be like an extra $2 to $3 million at the very least worth of interest over the 15 years or the first 10 years of owning the laundromat. And so we just basically came to the seller and said, hey, why don't we pay you, some large amount of that interest, and that goes to you instead of the banks. And I think John, being a laundromat owner and having spent so much money on interest with the banks over the years, he was eager to keep more money in the family and not pay it out.
I think his exact words were, let's stick it to the banks. So,
he jumped at that.
But even being the son of the owner, you would think, well, wouldn't you just go to that first? But we wanted to explore it because I had Ian as my business partner with me. It wasn't just, a generational changing of things, and nothing was given. It was an actual purchase of the business, and I wanted it to be clean. I wanted it to be a total purchase, not like a gradual buyout type of thing or gifting over time or anything like that either too. And so I think it wasn't a waste of time, even though ultimately we didn't wind up going that other method of financing the deal.
And even when we investigated seller financing, one of the first things we did was, well, then does the seller have any say at all about how the laundromat is run, right? Are they still involved in the business at all? And of course, the answer is no. But we just wanted to make sure we really understood what the conditions of those loans are and the terms and kind of in what scenario the seller would get back involved? And the answer to that is basically if you miss a payment, which, we've not had any issues with that, thankfully. And so, it ended up being the right method, but it was quite a bit of navigation to figure out, okay, can we get to the number that the seller has? And then also, when you're looking at financing, what are all the different options and what was the best option for us? And it's not a fast process. I mean, we sell point of sale systems to, we've sold over 1,200 since 2016. So we've got a pretty large scale point of sale business for laundromat owners. And, we kind of have a joke internally that like, if they're going to close in 2 weeks, it's going to be like 6 months. If they're going to close in 6 months, it's going to be like 2 years. Yeah. It takes time. And knowing that, we still were like, well, I think we can close this in like 3 months. And I think it took us like 18 or something. It was a long process.
But it has been interesting growing into managing 2 different companies. And the only way it happens is because of our excellent team of both companies. With Wash Dry Fold POS, we have an excellent customer success team and tech support team and sales team. And then for for Liberty Laundry, then like I mentioned, we have our operations manager, Becky, incredible. You can't have her. She's ours. Running the operations, and then excellent.
But then she has a manager underneath her.
Yeah, we have a manager at each location, and then with our facilities manager, making sure our equipment's up to snuff and all that. So we own 3 laundromats, but we're not actually running the laundromats day to day. We're here and able to do podcasts with you, Matt. So
what's interesting as you guys are talking is you're talking about layers that you don't traditionally see in the laundromat space, right? Like you're talking about, we have a facilities manager and a facilities assistant. We have layers of management staff here. Can you just talk a little bit about why you approach it that way and like why that's important as you think about kind of building this out as a kind of a multi-location business?
Yeah, it didn't happen overnight. Certainly. Really, Liberty Laundry's history really comes from learning by doing. Literally, when Dad opened his first store, he had a cot in the office because he was working 16-hour days. He didn't have any staff. He just opened his doors. And because he was trying to just get every last dollar out of the store, because this was his life savings going into building that store, offering the full service drop-off laundry service, because, just right from the start, just trying to maximize that revenue and quickly learning that customer service, treating every customer as though they belong and they're wanted and they're very much needed is one of those key pieces to it all. And learning how do you hire somebody, and then building out a operations manual and attendant handbook. And our secret weapon was that my mother was a former hospital administrator, and so experience with writing job descriptions and help wanted ads that are, compliant and set clear things, and just being determined on building the systems over time. When we opened store number 2, that's when, I came on as like the first store manager of that location. But it was when we opened our 3rd store that it came to a point where I was just real clear with my parents saying, like, we need a store manager at each location. We can't just be me and you kind of overseeing staff across 3 locations. So,
but that's a hard thing to do, right? Like if it's, and you probably ran into this on the Wash Dry Fold POS side too. Like you're building a business, you're starting it up. It's like you feel that pressure, that stress, and you're trying to not spend more money than you're bringing in, right? And so to have that mindset, to be able to say, okay, it's going to be fine for us to be able to get to the revenue goals we want to meet and to get this business to where we want it to be, we have to make that investment now in these people and pay these people so that we can get there. Otherwise, it's the same, you've got limited bandwidth. If it's only 3 people, you can only do so much.
Yeah, you work within the resources you have. So in terms of acquiring the 3 stores, it was just to our advantage that they were already well run and had a management team in place and all of that. And I was intimately familiar with all the systems because I helped build all of them. But I've spoken about this before at CLA events and at the Clean Show and being on a panel talking about these things. But obviously you work within the resources you have. And when you're just starting out with a new laundromat and you don't have established revenue or customer base and all that, that's more challenging. And you have to do a lot of stuff yourself. And we've done it all ourselves. We've grown all that way. I mean, we started off with carbon copy, handwritten tickets and a cash register and a calculator, back in the day, did that for years before computerizing. But anytime you're having to solve a problem more than once, like it comes up again and you've seen the scenario again, maybe the situation's different, but that's the same beats, to it.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity to improve your operations, write it down. Your goal as much as possible is to be able to have a 3-ring binder that's titled How to Run This Business. And you could hand it to somebody and say, here you go, here's how you run the business. And if you can create that document for your own company, even if you just have one store, then that is probably the most important step to eventually being able to separate your own personal hourly labor from, the business and becoming a business owner who can invest in systems and people to run the company for you and achieve that dream of laundromat ownership, right? That passive income everybody's after. But if you can't create that document first of how to run this business, then you'll never get out of that because you can't teach it. You can't hold other people accountable to it. So be mindful of that. It just feels like there's something that comes up again and again, and for some reason you keep seeming to need to be involved in it, but it's the same thing that you've solved before. Write it down.
Yeah, that's really good because it really is like so many people get into, entrepreneurship and all they do is just create a job for themselves. And that's not what it's supposed to be, but that's where we end up living for much longer than we should. That's for sure. Ian, I wanted to ask you a question about, you were talking about how as you've been selling the point of sale system, you've been able to talk to all these operators and you get to go on this journey with them and then get to help them grow. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's not what you were doing when you were selling billboard advertising. So it feels like this is a different thing. But I kind of want to know just like, how's that feel? Like, how does it feel for you to see, the journeys you've been able to be part of and like how you've helped people along their path? Talk about that just a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, I think I know for me, it's really made us feel incredibly proud to help people, especially when these are not big corporations. These are people that they're leaving this to their kids, or they're buying school for their grandkids, or whatever it is they're doing with the money. It really impacts them in a real way. One of our customers, Jim Radovic, he's one of the ones I think of when I think of people that we've seen grow tremendously underneath us. And we've got several customers like that, but he's been really nice about writing us several emails and reviews about like, hey, this new feature that you added to the point of sale, like, and I'll give you an example, the invoicing feature. So you used to have to go to the laundromat and run all the invoices for the commercial accounts, because he does a lot of commercial accounts. And so to be able to just do that from home and not have to go to each individual laundromat because he's got multiple, that was just a really big thing that gave hours back to his week. But for sure, it's really been fulfilling. And, we've been doing it for 10 years now. And it's just nice to look back and say, wow, we did that. We helped all these individual laundromat owners, and we've helped them scale from 1 store to 3 stores to 5 stores. Or even we've helped them scale from $3,000 a month in Wash Dry Fold to $30,000 a month in Wash Dry Fold, something like that. And so I think whether you're helping them scale with more stores or just helping them do the best with the store that they have, it really makes a big impact in their lives. And we've been really fortunate that a lot of our customers recognize that, and they have the loyalty to us for that. They're not out there shopping for new systems. They're just thinking, when are they going to buy their next laundromat and their next Wash Dry Fold POS? So it's been really fulfilling. And yeah, I mean, selling billboards was fun too. You got to dress up real fancy and spend a lot of money on.
You wore
on
very
lunch.
nice clothes back then, Ian.
Right. I definitely don't dress as nice as I used to. And I don't eat quite as fancy on a regular basis. Yeah, exactly. The polo shirt, that's the laundromat owner uniform. But no, it's less fancy, but I think it actually helps more people, and ironically, it is much more profitable as well. So just because what we've been able to build with these two companies, it's a lot more than what you make selling billboards. So
It's one of my favorite things, though, is when an existing customer comes to us to purchase another POS system because they've built another store, and we celebrate with them because it's so transformative. I got to see it with my own family's trajectory just completely changing with each new store that we added, and just completely changed our lives, So getting to celebrate that with our customers is one of my favorite things.
Well, Brian, we should find out from you, like you bought the laundromat from your father, right? You started this Wash Dry Fold POS system, so you've got two successful companies. There's a lot of pressure to keep this thing you bought from your dad going. How do you feel? Like, how's it feel right now? Like, I mean, you seem to be doing all right. How's it going?
It's wonderful. It's an extremely privileged spot to be in. And I had a lot of opportunities that were handed to me, and a lot of opportunities that I was able to jump on, and it's an extreme honor. Yeah, no, the only way I can do what I do is because of the excellent people I have around myself, like my business partner, Ian, and like our operations manager, Becky, and everyone on both companies' teams. And if you can surround yourself with excellent people who enjoy what they do, and they're ambitious and motivated, and they're smarter than you in many ways, things that maybe you don't want to do, or things that you're not as good at, then there's no limit to what you can accomplish. And anytime I feel myself getting bogged down or tired or worn out, I realize it's because I'm taking on too much of myself. I realize I need to continue to delegate. I need to continue documenting. I need to continue building the team. And if we do that, then we can accomplish anything.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay to say I need help, and you should be asking for help, because you never know who's standing by. They just want to be asked. They want to be asked they want to help you. They just don't know how. So if you ask, they'll step up to the plate. Speaking of help, I have to mention, you all, right? You're big on helping people out. We've talked about just coming alongside laundromat owners on the point of sale system side. You've talked about it with the employees and such on the Liberty Laundry side. You all also have started a podcast, the Laundromat Ownership Podcast, doing just that, right? Helping other people in ways. Talk about just kind of how that's been for you and how that's going.
Yeah, so I guess I'm the host, so I guess I should take that one. But, it's been great. It's been really fun, and we've had just a huge response from it. I thought I would have to do it for 6 months before a single person noticed, but it seems like from day one, we've just got so much feedback about it. And I do try and choose topics that are really important to laundromat owners, like valuation. How do you price it? How do you value it? How do you buy it? How do you sell it? Or even things like the repair ticket system that we were just talking about. I think our next episode's on that. And then, of course, having been around in the industry for 10 years, it was really easy to get, Steve Marcinetti from CCI and Dave Menz on. And so just kind of having those connections in the industry and being able to give them the platforms, but then also able to ask them questions that I know their customers want to hear, especially like with Steve and some of the specific fast card and laundry card questions that we were asking him. Those are the questions that we get all the time. And so it's been really fun. And it's blown away my expectations. But yeah, it's on YouTube and Apple and Spotify.
YouTube.com/@laundromat ownership. That's it. Yeah, the YouTube URLs are weird, but laundromat-ownership.com is another way to get to it. Yeah.
It's definitely not the easiest SEO term, but I wanted it to be clear about what this is about. This isn't like, hey, maybe one day I might want to buy a laundromat. This is, no, you already own at least one laundromat if you're listening to this podcast. And we're talking about things that are relevant to people that own laundromats. And it's very niche for that. And so I think because of that, we've been able to just niche down on our product so much. Because, I mean, as much as Full Cycle and the CLA and previously Planet Laundry does, they do have a wider net. They're communicating with people outside the industry, people that want to be in the industry and all that. And so we really narrowed down to, no, you're a laundromat owner, and that's why you're listening to this podcast. And so that's really what we talk about.
Yeah, I love that. I think, we got a little bit of the backstory today in this episode, but if folks want to get really into it, I want to hear the full story of kind of how all of this happened and how you all came together. You guys have an episode on that in the Laundromat Ownership Podcast, correct?
2 episodes.
Two episodes. Yeah, two-parter.
It was right. So rich, it required 2.
It did.
just like Ian's article in Full Cycle could not be contained to one issue of the magazine. We are running that across several because it's so valuable. So thank you again for doing that, Ian. I just want to say thank you to both of you for being able to sit here and share some time and share your story with everybody and be, as on brand. You've been very helpful for folks. But I can't let you go without one last question, because I always want to know this from people. I think I'm big on giving people at least one thing to take away every time that they tune into these. I want to know what's one thing that we can do today that's going to make us better tomorrow. And that can be business related. It can be life stuff. It can be anything you want it to be. But what's one thing that we can do today that's going to make us better tomorrow?
So since we're talking about operational stuff anyway, or I've been talking about it anyway, and I mentioned documenting things, one of the easiest and best things, and this was a tip I got from a CLA conference. It was so obvious in hindsight. It's like, oh, of course you can do that. You're carrying around a camera with you all the time on your phone. Record video of something in your laundromat that you want done a particular way, and then use that for training your team. If you look for Liberty Laundry on YouTube, you can actually see some of our folding videos that we use for training our laundry attendants. And whenever we have new hires, we have them watch the YouTube videos about how to fold standard items. So shirts, pants, underwear, towels, that's always going to be folded pretty much the same way every time. And we hold our team to be very consistent on those things. And we always struggled with getting consistency before that, and then realized, I could just put my phone on a tripod, and you get a little iPhone mount for a tripod off of Amazon pretty easy. Just record it how you want it, or you can use our training videos. Take a look at those. And so now our team is a lot more consistent about how they fold things. And we've been using those videos for years and years. So that's great advice, because how much frustration do you see when, as someone who's the owner of the business, you want it done like this. It's the way that I like to do it, and I want it done like this, but you didn't take the extra step. All you had to do was explain it. Guess what? You have a phone, you have a and now you never have to explain it again. Just give them a link to the video saying, hey, you didn't do it right. Watch this, do what it shows in the video. And then from then on, you don't have to have that conversation anymore.
Yeah, I love that. Ian, what about you? What's one thing we can do today that's going to make us better tomorrow?
Yeah, mine's pretty esoteric compared to that.
Nice.
I do have a 2-part answer too, but for me in my life, I started doing this probably 12 years ago or 13 years ago. For me, it's when I'm in the shower. That's just the time that I get alone, that there's no other, intrusive things interrupting. But I take, maybe it's just 5 minutes or even 2 minutes to just, you could call it a prayer, you could call it a mantra, but I literally say out loud, help give me strength and wisdom to be a better servant tomorrow than I was today. How do I be a better business partner? How to be a better business owner? How do I be a better boss, employer? How do I be a better husband, right? And I want to do better at all those service roles that I have in my life, all the people in my life that I'm serving. And just saying that out loud, along with, just like a simple thank you, being thankful and having some gratitude, saying those things out loud, to me, it has really helped me, because every day I'm thinking, how do I be a better servant than I was yesterday? And, you're not going to get that in the back of your head the first year that you do that. But after doing it for 12 years, it does kind of, it sticks in your mind, and it helps you really put your priorities first and try to not give in too heavily to your own, we all have our own selfish reasons for everything. But when you do try and say, hey, how do I be a better servant today than I was yesterday? To me, it's just really been helpful. And then I guess the second thing for me, I probably dedicate 1 to 2 hours to education every day, as far as I'll listen to a business podcast, maybe I'll listen to a laundromat specific one, and then more of a broader business one, and then a history one, or like I'm listening to a series on like the human language and how all that was developed. And so I just try and spend a few hours, at least 1 hour a day, just making myself a more rounded, well-read person. Of course, I don't read, I just listen to stuff.
And the rest of your time goes to your dog, Daisy, who is a well-rounded dog. So.
She's getting quite well-rounded. I'm still working on how to be a better dog owner, but I'm not in charge of her food, so that's the hard part. But those are the two things for me. I take some quiet time. I say prayer, and then the second part is I try and just become to be a better servant, you need to actually know more things. And so I try and dedicate an hour or two to self-improvement and education every day. And you learn a lot when you just say, hey, I'm going to take an hour or two to learn in the things I'm interested in. You learn a lot doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. I love both of those. I really like the kind of verbalizing the thing, right? Like put it out there, like say it, say what you're trying to be better at. Yeah. But you got to say it. And then, once you've said it, it's out there, and then you can write it down, right? If you can take maybe we just take a video of ourselves saying the thing, and then we've got that forever, right? Yeah. No, I think that's super great. Yeah. I mean, I think so much of it is verbalizing the thing, and then, on the learning piece, kudos to you, man. That's the hardest thing to do, to like block that time and to keep it sacred. And so to dedicate that time, I think that's really, really cool. And I'm going to steal that, because there's all kinds of stuff I want to read, but guess what I'm not doing? I'm not reading it. Yeah. It's too fun. Well, guys, I really appreciate, like I said, having you all take the time to share a little bit about your story to help the listeners and the viewers of this particular podcast. And I'm looking forward to kind of where this goes from here.
Thank you for having us on.
Appreciate it.
Hey, if you are watching, listening, wherever you are consuming your podcast content, make sure you like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. But most importantly, friends, thanks for giving us a turn.